The morning sun had barely risen when the man stood on the same cracked sidewalk, holding a paper cup of coffee that had already gone cold. His hands were rough, his eyes tired, and his shoulders carried the quiet weight of a life that had never been gentle. Every day began like this. Before the city fully woke up, before traffic filled the streets, before hope felt possible, and every day he did the same small act of kindness that would eventually change everything in ways he could never imagine. If you believe that kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Journal. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Marcus Hale was a single father in his late 30s, raising his 8-year-old son Jonah on a salary that barely stretched from one week to the next. His wife had passed away years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving him with grief, responsibility, and a child who still looked at him as if he were the safest place in the world. Marcus worked mornings unloading delivery trucks at a grocery warehouse, afternoons doing maintenance at an office building, and evenings helping Jonah with homework while reheating leftovers. His life was a cycle of exhaustion and love, stitched together by routine. Every morning on his walk to the bus stop, Marcus passed an elderly woman sitting on the same bench near the bakery. She wore the same faded coat regardless of the weather, her gray hair tucked under a thin scarf, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She never begged, she never raised her voice. She simply sat there, watching the world pass by as if she were invisible to it. On the first morning he noticed her, Marcus had looked away, telling himself he had nothing to spare. But the next day, and the day after that, something about her stillness followed him. On the fourth morning he stopped. He handed her an extra muffin he had bought for Jonah but knew his son would forgive him for. The woman accepted it with a quiet nod and a tired smile that barely lifted her cheeks. She did not thank him out loud, but her eyes softened in a way that stayed with him all day. The next morning, he brought her a cup of coffee, then a sandwich, then sometimes just a kind look and a moment of acknowledgement. It became their unspoken routine, a small island of humanity in the rush of the city. Marcus never asked her name. He never asked her story. He believed some people carried pain too heavy to explain, and respect meant not forcing answers. He only knew she arrived early, left by mid-morning, and never seemed to accept help from anyone else. He began budgeting a few extra dollars each week, skipping his own breakfast so he could bring her something warm. Jonah once asked why his father was always hungry in the mornings, and Marcus told him that helping others was sometimes more filling than food. The months passed, and seasons shifted. Spring sunlight replaced winter gray, and the woman's hands trembled less when she held the cup. Sometimes she would look at Marcus with an expression that felt like gratitude mixed with something deeper, almost sorrowful. Marcus assumed it was the sadness of being forgotten by the world. He never imagined it could be something else. Life, however, was not kind to Marcus. One afternoon, his second job cut his hours. Rent rose. Jonah needed new school supplies. The fridge became emptier, the nights longer. There were moments Marcus sat alone after Jonah fell asleep, staring at the floor, wondering how long he could keep going. Yet every morning, no matter how heavy his chest felt, he still stopped at the bench. The woman was there, always waiting, always quiet. Then came the morning everything changed. The sun was bright, the air warm, the kind of day that made the city feel almost forgiving. Marcus approached the bench with a paper bag holding a simple breakfast. But before he reached it, he noticed something strange. 4 tall men in dark suits stood nearby, their posture rigid, eyes scanning the street. A black luxury car was parked at the curb, its polished surface reflecting the sunlight like a mirror. The elderly woman was no longer sitting casually on the bench. She stood upright, her posture straighter than Marcus had ever seen, her coat replaced by a tailored jacket he did not recognize. And beside her stood 2 sharply dressed individuals holding leather folders. Marcus froze. His first instinct was fear. He wondered if the woman was in trouble, if someone was about to remove her from the street, if his presence would somehow make things worse. For a moment he considered walking past, pretending he saw nothing, but his feet refused to move. Something in his chest tightened, urging him forward despite the confusion. As he approached, the woman turned and looked at him fully, not with the tired eyes he knew, but with a clarity and strength that stunned him. The people beside her stepped back slightly, as if giving space to something important. Marcus felt suddenly small, painfully aware of his worn jacket and scuffed shoes. One of the individuals opened a folder, revealing documents filled with official seals. Marcus barely understood what was happening, only that the woman's presence had shifted from fragile to commanding. Finally she spoke, not with weakness, but with calm authority. She explained that her name was Evelyn Crow. She was not homeless, not forgotten, not poor in the way the world assumed. Evelyn had once been the owner of a vast estate and the majority shareholder of a powerful company. Years earlier, she had been betrayed by family members who manipulated legal loopholes, froze her accounts, and tried to declare her mentally unfit to control her wealth. Rather than fight publicly, she disappeared. She wanted to see the world without the protection of money, to understand who people truly were when they believed she had nothing. Her lawyers had been searching quietly, waiting for the right moment when the final legal battle was won. That moment was now. Marcus felt dizzy. He looked at the bench, at the street, at the woman he had fed for months. He tried to speak but found no words. Evelyn looked at him with eyes filled with emotion, not pity, but respect. She explained that during her time on that bench, hundreds of people had passed her. Many looked away, some mocked her, a few offered coins. Only Marcus had returned every day without questions, without judgment, even when it clearly cost him something. She told him she had watched him walk away each morning with hunger in his posture, yet returned the next day anyway. She had listened as he spoke kindly about his son without realizing she was listening. She had seen his kindness not as charity, but as dignity. The lawyer stepped forward then, explaining that Evelyn had insisted Marcus be found and thanked before she left. The bodyguards remained silent, their presence a reminder of the world Evelyn was returning to. But for a moment, none of that mattered. Marcus felt tears blur his vision. He had never expected anything in return. He had never imagined his small acts meant anything beyond that bench. Evelyn placed a hand over his, steady and warm, grounding him in the reality of the moment. She told him that kindness given freely was the rarest form of wealth. What followed felt unreal. Evelyn offered Marcus help, not as charity, but as opportunity. She wanted to fund Jonah's education, to ensure Marcus never had to choose between feeding himself and helping someone else. She offered him a position within one of her companies, not because she felt obligated, but because she trusted his character more than any resume. Marcus hesitated, overwhelmed, unsure if he deserved any of it. Evelyn reminded him that he had already earned it long before he knew who she was. The black car eventually drove away, taking Evelyn back to a life of power and protection. But the bench remained. The street returned to its noise. Marcus stood there for a long time after, holding the paper bag that had started the morning like any other. Nothing looked the same anymore. In the weeks that followed, Marcus's life slowly transformed. The financial pressure eased. Jonah smiled more, slept better, laughed louder. Marcus no longer walked with the weight of constant fear, yet he never forgot those mornings. He continued stopping by the bench, sometimes leaving food for whoever sat there next, sometimes simply pausing to look around and remind himself how close he had come to losing hope. Evelyn and Marcus did not become close friends, but she checked in quietly, respectfully. She never allowed the story to be publicized, never turned his kindness into a spectacle. She believed true goodness did not need an audience. Marcus taught Jonah a lesson he would carry forever. He told him that you never know who someone is or what they carry, and that kindness should never depend on what you think someone deserves. Jonah listened with wide eyes, absorbing a truth many adults never learn. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of simple kindness and unseen goodness, please take a moment now to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that compassion still exists in this world. And before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment the word kind below if you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can come back in ways we never expect. Marcus still walked in the morning sunlight, but now with a quiet smile. He knew that the world could be harsh, unfair, and cruel. But he also knew something else just as true. That kindness given without conditions had a way of rewriting destinies. And sometimes the person you help every morning is not the one being tested. It is you.